I call the Tuesday, November 28th, 2017 work session of the Portsmouth City Council to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Cherry?
Here.
Mr. Clark?
Here.
Mrs. Lucasberg? Here. Mr. Moody?
Here.
Ms. Simmons? Here. Dr. Whitaker?
Present.
Mayor Rowe?
Here. Dr. Patton?
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council. Before I introduce tonight's presentations, I would like to call to your attention that we had a presentation scheduled for Council on the hotline lanes and tolling, and we received word today from Deputy Secretary of Transportation Grimley Johnson that she was not able to make it, although we knew a couple of days in advance, but we determined she was to be the presenter, and she's in Northern Virginia this evening at another preparation for a ceremony for a toll road that will open tomorrow. We're going to schedule her for our first Monday meeting presentation in December. So she just wanted to pass on her apologies for not being here. Secondly, I would like to introduce a new member of our finance department, and I'm going to ask her to stand, Mrs. Barbara Dameron. She's a CPA, and she's the Assistant Chief Financial Officer. She's previously served as Financial Director of the cities of Roanoke and Danville, Virginia. She serves on the Government Finance Officers Association Committee on Retirement and Benefits and is a past president of the Virginia Government Finance Officers Association. She received a bachelor's degree in science from Averett College, Danville, Virginia, and a graduate certificate in local government management from Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University in Blacksburg. Please, let's welcome Mrs. Dameron.
If I may, welcome, and that's a welcome on behalf of City Council, and you're joining a great finance department.
I agree, and it's an honor to be able to serve the city of Portsmouth. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight's city's external auditing firm, Cherry Beckett, represented by Mrs. Laura Harton, Senior Manager, will present the city's audit results. The preparation for the audit is a joint venture led by the city's financial department and engaging every department within municipal government. The finance statements and information in the CARF are compiled by the city's finance staff, who work tirelessly to complete. The results represent every financial transaction from every city department and agency. The report contains numerous financial statements, cumulative information to include the city's net position and fund balance, along with budget results and statistical data. An audit by a qualified independent audit firm is required by the Commonwealth of Virginia and also to comply with bond covenants. Members of City Council, you received in front of you a copy of the comprehensive annual financial report. Mrs. Harden.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, and Council members. I'm pleased to be here tonight to present the results of the June 30th, 2017 audit. Okay. This evening, I'm going to cover a summary of our engagement, our deliverables, the results of the audit, some required communications, as well as future accounting and reporting changes. Okay. So we were engaged to audit the fiscal year 2017 financial statements of the city, including the school board, the Economic Development Authority, and the Port and Industrial Commission, which are discretely presented component units of the city. This includes gaining an understanding of the city's internal controls solely to assist us in the design of our audit, not to issue a report on an opinion on internal control. Our audit is not just an audit of the financial statements. It also includes the city's major federal programs as required by Uniform Grant Guidance, commonly referred to as a single audit, as well as the city's compliance with the Auditor of Public Accounts specifications for audits of counties, cities, and towns. As of and for the year ended June 30th, 2017, we have issued an opinion on the financial statements of the city and its component units. We also issued a report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters required by government auditing standards. We issued a report on compliance for each major federal program and internal control over compliance with uniform guidance, and a report on compliance with the Auditor of Public Accounts specifications. Based on our audit, we issued an unmodified opinion on the city's financial statements and compliance with federal grants and federal and state laws and regulations. These reports are included in the city's CAFR. As a result of our audit, we did note one deficiency that we considered to be a significant deficiency in internal controls over financial reporting and compliance. This is detailed in the Schedule of Findings and Question Costs, which is included in the city's CAFR. We also noted 4 instances of non-material non-compliance with grants, agreements, laws, and regulations, which are also detailed in the Schedule of Findings and Question Costs. As part of our audit, there are several other matters that we're required to communicate to you. There were no new significant accounting policies adopted during fiscal year 2017, and additionally, there were no other changes in accounting policies. The financial statements include certain significant estimates, which means that these numbers are not hard numbers and are subject to change based on the underlying assumptions that are used. The city's most significant estimates are its allowance for doubtful accounts and taxes receivable, depreciation expense, and actuarially computed liabilities like OPEB and pension. There were no corrected or proposed uncorrected adjustments as a result of our audit. We did not have any disagreements with management during our audit, and we did not encounter any difficulties during our audit. We're not aware of any consultations with any other accountants, and at the conclusion of our audit, management provided us with a representation letter regarding the completeness of the audit. Additionally, we did not issue a separate management letter. We are also independent of the city. Lastly, I'd like to draw your attention to new significant accounting standards that will impact the city's financial statements in the future. For fiscal year 2018, GASB 75 will be applicable. This will bring the city's OPEB liability onto the face of the financial statements. This information is currently disclosed in the required supplementary information and in the notes to the financial statements only. Additionally, for fiscal year 2020, the city will be required to report all leases as capital leases unless they're considered to be a short-term lease. I'd like to thank Ms. Kelly and her staff, as well as others within the city who helped to assist us during our audit. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
I have 2.
Okay.
What is the definition of a short-term lease?
It would be anything a year or less.
And GASB 75 goes into effect the current year?
Yes, so it will be on your CAFR next year where they record the liability.
And on page 6 of your slides, or 8, 2, 3, the 4th bullet down, where you talk about one deficiency, has that been corrected?
Yes.
I would have, we just got the material, would be what is the deficiency?
It relates to foster care, and make sure I have all the information correct. So part of the controls is that foster care files are reviewed on an annual basis to determine that the participants are still eligible. And out of our sample of 15, we identified one file that had not been reviewed on an annual basis.
Okay,
And
thanks.
that's a performance matter? That's what.
Yes, that's a control
question.
issue, yes.
And that's been corrected,
Yes.
what I
Yes.
understand?
Good. Good. Any other questions?
Okay.
Well, thank you for your hard work.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, I'll go to 2 items that we have on the City Manager's report for tonight. The first is adoption of an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of City of Portsmouth, Virginia general obligation refunding bonds, which we have shared with you. We will have our conferences regarding this matter starting tomorrow and on Thursday. And the financial impact is depending on the market conditions. The city may realize up to $12 million or more in interest savings for the remaining life of the bonds, and approximately 60% of the savings is for tax-supported bonds and 40% for self-supported bonds. The second item is an adoption of an ordinance authorizing the transfer of $331,500 from the non-departmental salary employee bonus line item in the FY 2018 general fund budget to the non-departmental benefits retiree supplement line item in the FY 2018 general fund budget for the purpose of funding a one-time supplement in the gross amount of $500 for certain retirees under the Portsmouth Supplemental Retirement System and the Fire and Police Retirement System. The proposed ordinance confirms the transfer of savings from the FY 2018 non-departmental salary employee bonus line to the non-departmental benefit retirement supplement line. It is anticipated that the supplemental payment to eligible retirees will be made in January of 2018. Those are the conclusion of the two items that come before you tonight for your approval.
Any questions? This brings us to City Council Liaison Report. We'll start to my left.
Yes, sir, I'm looking for my calendar.
All right.
The only report I have is that because of the holidays in November and December, the EDA and the PPIC will have a joint meeting together, which is a good thing, in December on Tuesday, the 19th of December at 8 a.m. in this room, which is the normal date of one of the two groups.
The EDA.
Yeah, EDA, thank you. So that we can be together and we don't miss meetings with the Thanksgiving and Christmas.
No.
No reports for me.
Reference to the Hampton Roads Regional Jail. The Regional Jail Authority met on October the 18th. I was out of the country, but Dr. Patton briefed me on the meeting. The comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2017 was presented by Robinson, Farmer, Cox Associates. There were no significant findings in the report. There was insightful discussion in the review of operations and activities where Hampton Roads Regional Jail staff makes monthly reports to the board. The medical cost and increase of inmates needing medical attention continues to challenge the board. The mental health grant of which the City of Portsmouth is initiating agency report was given and is anticipated the grant will receive continued funding consideration. The next meeting will be December the 20th. And the next meeting, in reference to the Parking Authority, will not be till January 18th, and I will have reports after those dates.
Dr. Whitaker. Yes.
Can I back up to military affairs, please?
You may.
I think it's important to kind of thank the staff of the city, particularly our Parks and Recreation Leisure Services Department. We were happy as a city to have a beautiful new float in the Grand Illumination Parade a few Saturdays ago, and as our guest on board the float was Captain Brown, the commanding officer of the Norfolk Naval Shipyard, along with his wife and two children, to join us in the parade. And the float was, the whole point of the parade was about the Sea to Shining Sea, celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Norfolk Naval Shipyard and the 100th anniversary of the naval base. So it was nice that we had Captain Brown with our Portsmouth council members.
And he was the speaker at our Veterans Day.
Yes, I forgot about that. We had that too. Yeah. We had wonderful Veterans Day ceremony that Dr. Patton, thank you, or whoever made the wonderful decision to take it off the waterfront under the flagpole when it was 30 degrees and blowing a gale inside City Hall. And we had the Tidewater Concert Band playing some patriotic music. Captain Brown was our guest speaker. And we had a pretty big crowd of citizens who showed up.
Right.
For a Saturday and a last-minute move to City Hall. It was a very nice event, and we left that, and most of us went into Old Town so that the mayor could drop 2 new stones into the Heritage Project at Glasgow and Middle Streets. So it was a nice day.
Dr. Patton?
Mayor, one of the things I'd like to mention in regard to those 2 events, the city pretty much has taken the lead. The day of significant celebrations or recognitions, we have honored it on that day, when many cities would have had that on a Thursday because Saturday. But for 9/11 and Veterans Day, the city has celebrated those days on the day, even if the day was on a weekend. And so we have received very favorable comments in that regard. In addition, the banner representing the 250th anniversary of the shipyard was hung today on the first floor of City Hall, and it's right when you come out of the elevator. And I said to the team that hung it, 100 years from now, I hope that that's somewhere that people can see that we celebrated 250 years, which was a very significant point in this city's history. So you can see it when you go downstairs.
We have a need to go into a closed meeting to discuss Afton Green, and Councilman Moody, if you could recuse yourself.
I'm going to recuse myself, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there any other item that we need to discuss in closed session? This is it? All right. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I move to go into closed session pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711A3 for the purpose of discussing the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding to Afton Green Development, 4300 George Washington Highway, and 0 George Washington Highway tax parcels 0461-0080, 0090, 0100, and 0110.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Cherry?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
I'm recusing
He
myself.
recused. Okay. Ms. Simmons?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mayor Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you.
And please let the minutes show that Councilman Moody did not
Yes, sir.
participate. And we're now in closed session.